Morgen. Purim. I'm not sure how many people are going to get to listen today to Chlau, to the share on Purim, but I guess when you're driving and you're delivering shlachmanas, so maybe it's an opportunity to listen to share and Chlau. I'll call upon him in today's Rambam, Perik Yud, Halacha Tesvav. The Rambam writes an interesting halacha and one that very, very difficult to understand. And that is, it says, Achatzeitzis Shemefutzolis Chaloyis Chaloyis. A trumpet. It's made of pieces, as we'll see. The Rambam describes it in Parashat Shnayos. Many pieces. If only an ummah knows how to put it together, not a regular hedyot, is mekabelas tumah k'shim mechuberes. Becomes tamei when it's connected. Everybody can just take it apart whenever you want, put it together. It's not mekabel. So the Rambam would seem to be saying, he says that the fact that a hedyot can put it together is a chasar, and that therefore it's not mekabel to me even when it's together. The Ravid on Al-Asar right there screams, it's hapach hagemara, it's hapach everywhere. And he brings like a Mishnah. Then he says, there's another Mishnah that we're going to deal with. A Mishnah in Perek Chavav in Keilim. So it speaks about a laced shoe. It's called sandal imki, which comes from a certain place, or kiss shel shnatzes, or a pocketbook or some kind that has also laces. You don't need an ummah, and that's a Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi says that these, even when you take off the laces, open up the laces, which is clear that it's not a Keilim. So what do we see here? That the fact that a person who's not a professional can put it together makes it tamei even when it's separate. And here that I'm saying that even when it's together, only a professional putting it together counts. In the Gemara Shabbos, there's a sugya, and we'll talk about it a little later, more detail. And because the Ravid is very interesting, how he asks the question of the Rambam, but the Rambam clearly doesn't hold like this. Gemara Shabbos, the Gemara talks about a bell, zug, and it's inbal. It's inside part that rings the bell. So there, the Gemara also says a lashon, hoyil v'hedyet yochel la'achzira, is even if you take out the ringing part of the bell, you know what it's called, is their tummy. In Valeya to Masamale. Their tummy. So you say that why? Because the head you can put it back. So here, if it's connected already, and even if you take it apart, you say it's considered one because you can put it back easily. So here, but together it's not good because the head you did it. Okay, now this Rambam is a Mishnah in Keilim. It's an interesting Mishnah that the Rambam builds this from. Mishnah says, Keren agula tumeya upshuta tahir. A horn that's rounded is tamei, a one that's straight is tahir. And the Rambam explains that this Keren is referring to a trumpet, not talking about the shofar. And And he said there were two forms of trumpets. There was there were two forms of a musical instruments like we have. You have the long ones and you have the curved ones. So in the chatzitzer itself, the general was called Karen Agula, and then there was a chatzitzer that was called Karen Pshuta, a straight one. They were both made of pieces, and from many pieces. But putting together the rounded one took work. You needed to be a professional. Not everybody can do that. And only a professional. And therefore he says that if somebody does that on Shabbos, it's chayv chatas because it's a ma'aseh. It's not something that everybody can do. So the Ravid's kasha is a strong kasha. What do you do with the Gemara? What does he do with Rabbi Yossi? And the worst part, the hardest part is that the Rambam Paskins like Rabbi Yossi. We'll see soon. So the Kesef Mishnah, in answering the Ravid, it says that here it's different. Because here it's made out of many pieces. And if you don't put them together well, they just come apart. And therefore it's not called chibur. He doesn't say, well, he just says, ain't it tekua b'chezik. If you don't do it strong and professionally, ain't a chibur class. It's not considered it's there. It's not considered together. Okay, so what the Achreinim explained the Kesef Mishnah is as follows. That since the Rambam was talking about a trumpet that's made out of pieces, and if it's not tight and it easily comes apart, that's not called a kli. And that's what it means, meaning that it has to be strong. And not everybody knows how to do that. And therefore you can't take it apart easily. And that's what will be a kli. But if everybody can just take it apart, so that means it's very loose. And therefore it's not makabel tum, it's not a kli. But the sugi in Shabbos is talking about a general kli that the derech is mechuber. It's always mechuber. Just what? It came apart. So then we say that if you can fix it easily, it's called a kli shalom, even 1/7. Just to note, there's a Reb Chaim on this Indian, a long one, and very big you say this, and I'm just not getting into it because of its complexity and time frame that we have. But it's kedai to look at it if somebody wants to go through the sugya. And with some of the things we're going to say, there is a comparison to what he says. There is, some different, but a lot of it does fit to some of his understanding. Anyway, I want to look at some of the things and perhaps see how the Rambam says things that might enlighten us. In Hilchis Keilim, Perik Zayin Halacha Tes, the Rambam writes the following: Kli Ar, in other words, what you learned yesterday, Kli Ar sheyesh lo lula ois u'shnotzes. It has hooks and laces. They sandal imki v'kishal shnotzes, which we spoke about before. Listen to the words of that. When they're open, Ein Aleim Tzuris Kli, doesn't have a form of a Kli anymore. Those things opened up, it was just like a open thing, and you couldn't do anything with it, you couldn't wear it. Areil Makabel and Tumah, Kashem Mutarin, they are Makabel Tumah when Mutarin. Hoyil Vahed Yochoil, Bimeheira, Lahachnis Hashnotzes B'Lois, because you can easily put the laces back into the hooks, and Riyagze Kli Kibul Kishai, and it goes back to being a Kli Kibul as it was. Okay. Now here comes a problem. When I saw this halacha, it was hard to understand. What is he saying? Now, in other words, what he's saying is exactly what the Ravid seems to be bothered by, and if anything, this makes it even more of a contradiction to what he said before. Here he says that a Hedi Yochel makes it into a Kli, and here it's obviously made to be opened and closed, which is a little bit of a problem in the way people understand the Kesef Mishnah. I'm not sure the Kesef Mishnah means what people understand it to mean. It might mean what we're going to speak about, but generally, just the general understanding does not fit with this. Now here he says, listen to this. This is where an additional problem is. It's hard to understand the words. Now, here, so is if they became Tomei, the Hasir Hashnotzos, and he took off the laces, man, Vinifsid Tsurosam, so now it lost its Tsura. Right? Hooray, hand tired. They become tired. Even though you can put them back without a professional, with a craftsman. So, I mean, just simple reading. He seems to contradict himself from beginning to end. In the beginning, he says that if it was Tomei, if it was separate, it'll be Makabel Tumah because I can put it back together easily. Now he's saying if I take it apart, it becomes Ois Tomei. It doesn't make sense. How can it be Ois Tomei and then Makabel Tumah at the same time? How could that same thing that becomes Ois Tomei because it's considered not a Keli anymore be Makabel Tumah as a Keli? Interesting. I don't see people asking this question, except I found the Aruch HaShulchan Aruch asked it. But other than that, nobody seems to be bothered by this problem. And I mean, I couldn't read it. I was so happy that I found somebody that I thought maybe I don't know what the words mean, but that's what they mean. Okay, let's analyze some of these. Some of the things the Rambam says here. In putting together this shoe or pocketbook or whatever it was, kiss, the Rambam uses an interesting lashon. He doesn't just write Hoyel Vahed Yochel Lachzir. He writes Hoyel Vahed Yochel B'Meheira Lachzir. Lahachdis Ashnas V'Ulois. The word Meheira is an additional word. And we'll see soon that I'm in the Parish of Schneider uses a cowl. So why that extra word? I mean, again, the Rambam doesn't just throw in words. Now, especially, the Rambam usually, as we know, tries to stick to the wording of the Mishnah, the Makar of where he brings his halach. And this, the Makar of this Rambam is in Keilim Perik Chet in Chavot. And there it says, Sandal in Kishushatsu, as we read before, that the Ravid quoted. I'm Rabbi Yasi. Valai Kol HaKeilim Mitam and Mitam Shalei Ba'uman, you don't need to Uman, Aval Eilu, Aval Mishem Mitam, Tmeim Shahedi Yochlazir. It says the word Shahedi Yochlazir. What does he need more than that? So that's no good. So why did the Rambam add that? Pirsha Mishnah explains more or less the idea. He says, he says that use a lashon. Geen massa zijn bij het says Al Yatsu min Klal Keilim Alolu Amurim Kan Shavish Lusayim Mutar Salam Tsur Lekabel but two Mariam Kabdum Commission Hayil Shaine Uman Yochalas says Tsur Bek Kalus. Claim she Kabas is a lawyers Bavad the Kilo and Shlay up. Then he adds a line, which is a strong words. Nothing has changed. They're complete and nothing has changed. It's as if they're complete, nothing has changed. That's enough. It's now complete, and their tzura is there. So why did he add it? Where did he get it from? Who says it's easy? Who says it? Just it doesn't mean that you don't need a craftsman. It has to be easy. Okay, then we have the contradiction. Now, here, the Gemara in Shabbos that they all mention about Zug and Inbul, the Gemara in Shabbos is an interesting piece of Gemara. The Svara, the Gemara asks what happens to when a Zug and Inbul is Mekabel Tumah, like Lemay Chozi. What are they used for? Comes along Abaye and says that because they are royal, because they are Hoyel Vahedi Yachlazir. The Rav argues on Abaye, and he says Hoyel V'Royel Akisha Al Gabi Cheres, because you can bang it still. You can't bang it on the Zug. You can bang it on the Imel can be banged on the Cheres. The Rambam there, compared to Ches Halacha Zayin in Ilchas Keilim, paskins like Rava. He writes, Oisa Zagin L'Machteshes, L'Arisa, L'Metapches, Soren, L'Yekes, Tayr, Osalem Invalid, Kam Tuma, Oiv Nas, Kashmir Keil, Lord, I'm not going to see the end. I feel nothing, but Kam Tuma. You can knock it on the cheres. You got inside. You can knock the zug on the cheres. I guess the imbo. So how does he pass him like Abaye? In our Indian, suddenly he comes with his hoyel v'hed yachlazir, which is Abaye's story. Rabbi seems to argue on that, and that's a mataina on the Ravid that he asks from this halacha, which is according to Abaye, not according to Rabbi. Okay. Let's go back to that Rambam that we said we couldn't read. And we had a problem with the Reisha and the Sefer of the Rambam, which seems to contradict. So when he describes this laced shoe or sandal, and he describes this laced book, pocketbook, he writes, Shehein mutarim ein aleim tzuras kli. They don't have the tzuras kli. In the Sefer, he says, not that they're mutar, the heisir hashnatzos, you remove the shnatzos, ma'am, the nifsin datzuras, and destroyed their tzura. First of all, why did he write mutarin versus the heisir? Opened up and took out, and ein haleim tzuras kli and nifsin tzuras. Okay, so that is a little easier to understand, but it's still. In his consistency, he could have written the same thing. Okay. There are another two smaller oris. One is, why does he write Harei l'makam tuma kishehein mutarim? Again, kishehein mutarim. He should have write Ava bishehein mutarim ein alen tzuras harei l'makam tuma. However, but what's the purpose in that extra kishehein mutarim? You already said that. Also, by Chatzaitzes, he writes, Shemufutzalos chaloyos. Why does he double it? He should have said chaloyos. It's made of chaloyos. Chaloyos means parts. Okay, those are the issues with the Rambam. And perhaps the Rambam is speaking to us quite clearly what he says. And he holds that you need to achieve, as he writes in Pirush HaMishnah, Keilu hen shleimim v'lei nedra tzurasam. We got to be able to look at it as shleimim and lei nedra tzurasam. So he says, if that's the case, and the Mishnah says, and a zug and an inbol, we don't hold hoyel v'hedi yachlach ziram. We hold a different reason, like Rabbi's reason, because shiach lakish al gabe cheres. So obviously there must be differences in the Hedit Yochel Achzira. What's the difference? What are they arguing over? So therefore he adds the word b'mehera. And he writes Yochel b'mehera l'hachnes. And in Beresh Mishnayis Laslam Isa Tzura Bekalus. You can put together that surah, that form, easily. And that's the bottom line of his shita. And as long as you can do it the mehera and kalus, it's kilo lenedr tzrasim, as if it's back as the way it was. And that's why he changed from what Abaye writes. Abaye writes, he even changed what Rabbi Yossi writes and explained that what Rabbi Yossi means is not is not sufficient. On the contrary, it's not good. It needs to be b'mehera, something that can be easily and quickly. And therefore he says that that's when light nifsa the tzurasa. That's when we're in a state of keilu hashleimim v'leinedru tzurasa, and it didn't change. The paskins there, we said we had a problem with his psak. Im nitmu v'heisish nasim nifsa tzurasa me'im tayr. Even though you can do it shalei b'uman, he doesn't write because you can do it b'mehera or you can do it b'hedyin. You can do it shalei b'uman. You don't need a uman. But it doesn't say you can do b'mehera. So it could be all the lashon that we said is exactly what he's trying to say. It wasn't mutarin opened up. It was taken out. And now it can't be done quickly. It can't be done quickly. It can only be done with an uman. It can only be a shalei b'uman, but not quickly. And not kalu, not easily. So therefore the two halachas are not a contradiction at all. When you can do it easily and quickly, then it's considered as if it's done. But when you have to do it with some, you don't have to be a craftsman. I can lace shoes, but it takes me time. If I have if I buy a new pair of laces and put it into my shoes, it'll take me time. That's not considered legabe this halach. That's Rava's argument on Abaye, and that's the way the Rambam holds. And that's why he repeated again, when they're open, not when they're off. And there he wrote the haste here when he took them off. It's a big difference. But I think the key word is mehera, kalus versus shalei b'uman. That would fit very nicely into the words of the Rambam. And he learned this from this problem of Abaye, Rabbi Yossi. I mean, you gotta make up our mind. Who do we all like? So obviously there's a difference. Now, the din of Chatzeitzer is a whole different halacha, as the Kesef Mishnah writes. So therefore, you don't have to say that here it just all came up. It's a different thing. It's made out of pieces, as the Rambam said in the Pirush HaMishnah. He writes on the Chatzeitzer. He writes that it was many pieces, right? Mechatichos and rabois, a lot of pieces. And that is something that needs not work of a craft. It needs to be, as the Mishnah says, it needs to be put together properly. If not, it's nothing. And therefore, because it's made out of chulias, that's why he wants to stress chulias. That it's a lot of pieces that needs work, that needs not work. It needs work to be done right. If not, it's not chibur. It's like that put together a puzzle. It's good, but it comes apart right away. And that's why that you need to do the chayes. That's what the Kesef Mishnah means. It's a different shot the Kesef Mishnah than what not that the zug and imbul. It's made to come apart, not made. That's not the word, or that it wasn't intended to come apart. The word is, what is it? How do you? What's the purpose of this, and how this is done? This is a thing that needs to be a kibur a kli. You got to make a kli out of it. That's why he writes chalayis. Okay. That would explain the Rambam. Just for um, purposes of knowledge, just to be aware, the Aruch HaShulchan has a whole different approach to this. I'm not going to go into it now. I'm not going into it, but you can look it up, and it's worthwhile because he does a beautiful job in explaining it. It's a new shit in this whole thing. And there's another sefer. I'm not sure I remember the name. Also has a mahalach of this. There's Chaim. There's those two stars. But I think in a simple way to understand it, and there may be in reading the words of the Rambam, this would fit very nicely, perhaps as a solution to the contradictions in the Rambam and contradictions in Halacha. Anyway, Afreil Champurim, and it should be Mismach Geula LeGeula. We should go out with the Geula Amitas Hashleim and Bekar Mamish. Dai gesund, Afreil Champurim Nachama.